those days are wide open.
Yeah, good.
Welcome
All right, guys.
to Overtime.
Overtime. We have a real topic today, and that is Jim Knowles leaving Ohio State for Penn State. Penn State reportedly paying him $3.1 million per season over the next 3, making him the single highest paid coordinator, offense or defense, in all of college football. Do you guys have an issue with
None.
Jim Knowles leaving the Buckeyes to go to Penn State for a payday like that?
Go
after
get
winning a
yours,
national
man.
championship?
Go get yours.
You already listen. LeBron has set this up for everybody. Hey man, listen. I
Take my talents to Penn State.
I delivered what I came to do. When y'all came and got me a couple of years ago, it took me a few years to get adjusted. You have been delivered your title. Now it's all about that bag, that sack of money.
And in terms of like moving the needle, I don't think it moves the needle much. Ohio State had, by my eyes, the most talent of any defensive unit in college football.
Facts.
They had stalwarts up front, in the middle, and on the back end.
Yeah.
And when you have that, you have the Buccaneers of 2003, when you had Warren Sapp, Derek Brooks, Rondé Barber, John Lynch. When you've got studs at every level of the defense, you can hide your deficiencies because there isn't a real weakness. Now, the Ohio State did have some weakness in coverage in the secondary, but they were able to mask it, and they were able to survive it. Is he going to be the missing piece to Penn State? No, he's not. There were years that fans at Ohio State wanted Jim Knowles out of town.
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't blitz much.
Yeah.
And fans didn't like that. They wanted a more aggressive blitzing defense. And there were times that his defenses got torched.
Yeah.
But when you gave him definitively the best talent, what did he do? He delivered on it. There are other coordinators that can deliver when the talent is that good.
If Ohio State thought he was that important, they would have paid him more money.
They would have paid him, you bet, Bull. They would have wrote the check.
They know him well.
They know it.
I'm sure at some point somebody from the powers that be at Ohio State went to Ryan Day and said, do we got to pay him?
The conversation
I don't know.
The conversation happened. I'll assure you that the conversation happened. And at that point, he was already the highest paid coordinator in college football.
And they're having the same discussion about Chip Kelly.
They are.
They're
You're
like,
right. Chip Kelly's allegedly getting some NFL interest as an offensive coordinator. And college again. Here's what's interesting about Kelly. First of all, their relationship, Kelly and Ryan Day, is fascinating.
Super tight.
He coached Ryan Day when he was a player. And then Ryan Day was an assistant under Chip on 4 different staffs.
Yeah, yep.
And Chip just kept bringing Ryan with him. And then that's your boss. Imagine the awkwardness of that.
And the awkwardness that I always felt was, so UCLA is a name. I mean,
Sure.
I would say they're a tier 2
and he
type
was
school.
turning UCLA in the right direction.
And he just says, no, I'm just going to go up. I'm going to leave to be a coordinator?
Yeah.
You're the father of the spread offense in Oregon. Like, I'm thinking, but maybe he was trying to go there and get a reset.
Maybe, but there's also every possibility. I saw a couple features on Chip during the season, and it seemed like this was a guy who just said, you know what, now it's about my happiness. Mm-hmm. It's not about climbing the ladder anymore. And by the way, I can relate to that. At 59 years old, I am like, I compare 59J to 39J. 39, I couldn't get up the ladder fast enough. And then now at 59, I realized, what the hell was that all for?
Why, for what?
Be where you're supposed to be and where it makes you happy. And I do think that Chip is happy where he is. Not to say he might not leave. He might.
Right.
But he's in a great situation. He's not in the line of fire.
At all.
And he can stay there, presumably, until he wants to not coach anymore.
And here's the thing that you can never underestimate about Ohio State. Bro, you guys print recruits. These are created players. You're going to
always have the best players.
You know what? That's a great point. Bull, I got this sent to me by some friends this morning, and I didn't double check it, so factually it may be incorrect. But I want to share this with you guys.
But it doesn't say Bernie's dead.
No, it does not say Bernie's dead. So the graphic is said longest active AP poll season appearance streaks. Mm-hmm. That means at some point in every season you appeared in the poll. There are. I'm going to read from the bottom up. Tied at number 10 is Notre Dame and Clemson. 13 straight years they've appeared in the poll at some point. Then it goes Oklahoma State, Alabama, 17. I was surprised that theirs was that short. USC, LSU, Oklahoma, Oregon, Wisconsin, Georgia. Georgia and Wisconsin are currently tied with 27 straight seasons of an appearance in the AP Top 25. Ohio State is first at 56 straight seasons. That means all but 3 years of my life, they have been in the top 25 at some point in the season.
Now, they probably shouldn't have been sometimes.
You can argue that some of these schools also shouldn't have been.
Although the only year I can think of in recent history was the Luke Fickell year.
But at the beginning of the year, before they knew what they were going to be,
right,
they were in the top 20. And then when they won their preseason game to start, they stayed in the top 25.
I would still bet that probably at least 50 of those years they were still in the top 25 by the end of the year.
At the end of most of them, Bull, you're right.
The only season I could think of, season I could think of is what year did they have Belisari at quarterback? I think they ended up losing in South Carolina in a bowl game.
That was Cooper's last year.
That
was John Cooper's last year.
And I think that was
2001.
That might have been the year they didn't end in the top 25, and obviously Cooper got fired after that. That was stressful. He was done. But they're in the top.
But most of those seasons at the end of the year, they were in the top 25. You could also do a streak for top 10. They've been a top 10 team most of the years of my life. And what's stunning is that the title of the graphic is Ohio State is literally the most consistent sports team in the world. And it probably on its face sounds like hyperbole, but you can look at the other juggernauts. The Yankees had stretches, in the
it's not
80s.
A fair
no, it's not a fair comparison.
But it's still true. Probably.
But and here's where it is apples to apples.
Yeah.
Notre Dame, Penn State, Texas, all of the blue bloods, Oklahoma, Nebraska in college football, they're all apples to apples comparisons, and they haven't done it for 56 years.
It's the biggest fan base in college football. Like you could say, you could say Alabama and Georgia, but here's the thing about Ohio State.
Well, their alumni base is
Ohio
top
State
five.
will never be out of the top 25
Ohio
ever.
State's
the rest
alumni.
Of
I hate to say never, but
I lived in North Carolina. They got advertised. Okay, this is where they give you a packet. You go to cities. This is where you watch the Buckeyes on Saturday. This is where we congregate. You like, how did y'all know where I was staying? I didn't even move in yet. They was like, we just know. They have
spies.
Even when you go to other schools now. In Ohio, we have Dayton and Cincinnati and Ohio or OU and Miami and Toledo and Akron,
Toledo, Bowling Green.
all of these little little city state colleges. And in every one of those colleges, they say, "What's your favorite team?" It's still Ohio State.
Well, that's the thing. Ohio State has some major advantages that no other university has.
There's not another big college in our state.
Right. The only other
Cincinnati.
State that produces a lot of football talent.
Nebraska?
No, but Nebraska
Not
doesn't
anymore.
produce football talent.
Not anymore, but once upon a time, Nebraska was always top 5 in Division I signees.
Or Oklahoma,
right, but no. What I'm saying is, if you look at NFL players by state, Ohio's like 5th or 6th or whatever.
I
somewhere.
thought it was 3rd. I
might be 3rd, whatever. It's in the high.
Yeah.
If you look at
Texas,
you look at all the states that are near the top, the only ones that only have one big-time school is Ohio and Louisiana.
Yeah,
that's it.
It is an advantage for sure.
And Louisiana, real quick, but Louisiana gets poached in other ways.
Yeah.
Well, I understand that, Mike, but it's still that. And there's still some people that want to go to their home.
But Mike, Ohio gets poached too. Ohio loses a lot of talent as well.
Yeah.
No, I'm
look
just
at
saying,
Michigan's
being
roster.
in the heart of
they
SEC country.
It doesn't matter. The
right
point
there.
is,
but
it doesn't change.
right. His big
Michigan
right.
might have
That's an
15
advantage.
players from Ohio. We've got 2 players from Michigan.
And Ohio State, unlike LSU, has way more money, way bigger alumni.
And that's where now that becomes a factor.
The SEC is getting hurt, is not going to be as good anymore because there's not as much money in the SEC.
You're right.
Why?
Yeah.
Because there's much better schools in the Big Ten,
which produces
in terms of
better
education.
graduates, which means they get better jobs, which means their booster money it just comes to a bigger amount. By the way, the narrative was Ohio State spent more money than any other school. That's false.
It was 3rd.
They were 3rd, and I think LSU.
No, it was Oregon and Texas.
Oregon, Texas, but LSU I think was 4th.
To be honest, I've only seen the top 3.
But it doesn't matter. Whether
No, it doesn't matter. But the narrative throughout the season was, well, God, Ohio State better win it. They're spending more money than everybody.
But
they weren't.
But they do it the best because when they spend the money, they also got the backing to show you. They say, oh, you want to go to the league? If you're a defensive back, a defensive end, or a wide receiver, if you're a wide receiver, they make it so that you play for the Rolls Royces of you could point all these dudes. Yeah, they all went to the league. We can show you how to get to the league, and we're gonna give you the bag. And they have no problem starting freshmen. Like some of these other schools, like if you good at Ohio State, they will spot shadow you and throw you the ball every down.
In 2025, so this incoming recruiting class, I'm on 247 right now. Of the top 25 prospects in the state of Ohio, how many do you think are committed to Ohio State?
I'd say 4 or 5.
11.
G?
6.
8.
Okay.
8 of the top 25 committed to Ohio State. Guess how many of the top 25 are committed to Michigan?
0.
No, I would think there'd be a couple
2.
in there. 3.
Bull's correct. 0.
Wow.
Other
Good.
schools.
And in that trend.
Other schools, real quick. Bama, Oregon, Georgia, Missouri, Miami, Penn State, 2 Penn States.
And I wonder how many of those are
and
committed.
a couple Kentuckys, by the way.
I wonder how many of those are in those other
Kentucky has
schools.
5 kids in the top 40. Sorry to cut you off, Bull.
No, it's
5
fine.
of the top 40 recruits in Ohio going to Kentucky next year.
I wonder if a lot of those kids that are going to other schools, it's because Ohio State wasn't hot on them.
Yeah.
More than they didn't want to go.
No, well, I can tell you
recruited.
Yeah.
Or
The
they were
kid
from
from-
Cincinnati, which they're closer to Lexington than they
Yeah,
are to
that's
Columbus.
well, the safety from Shaker Heights, Trey McNutt,
yeah.
he was an Ohio State commit, then flipped, and the reports were
Money.
giant bag of cash.
Yeah.
And see, here's the thing. They're going to lose guys from these programs like Kentucky. Kentucky, by the way, has money. Kentucky's got some horse alum that are in the horse world. They've got cash.
Also, 4 of the 5 Kentucky commits are from the Cincinnati area.
Right.
Good call.
Which is common. But I'll say this. Every year, in Ohio, you're going to churn some of the top high school talent in the country.
Yeah.
Woody said this. John Cooper, it took him a while to learn it. Yes, you have to recruit the South. You have to. But you damn well better win Ohio. The kids that are in state that are, and I don't mean top 25 recruits, I mean top 10 recruits. The kids that are no-brainers, could play anywhere, you better win the majority of those.
Where is that
battles.
safety going, Mike, the kid you mentioned?
Oregon.
From Shaker Heights.
So here's the thing, Ohio.
By the way, that's going to be another one. Phil Knight's got endless money.
Tons of money.
And Ohio State, I like what they're doing. See, they play the long game. So here's what happens. Yeah, y'all gave them a bag of money to go there, but what happened when they get there and they ain't winning at the highest level? We'll just recoup them and we'll grab them up their junior year. Oh, we'll keep in contact with you. How's things going out there in Oregon? Oh, you're getting beat by us? Come on now. When they got Caleb Downs and Judkins, I was like, but these are first team all SEC guys.
Yeah. What's amazing about those two, literally, Ohio State, it's almost like they had a crystal ball because you're assessing talent.
Right.
Browns miss on that all the time. Whoever's, now the new thing is, and I saw that Andrew Luck became Stanford's general manager. Yeah. All of these college football programs have general managers now.
They need to,
because you've got to manage the money, you've got to assess talent.
Yep.
And I think Ohio State was ahead of that curve, and that's why they had immediate success with this 12 team and the NIL and the portal.
Yeah.
Now it's not just about winning recruiting. Now you got to win recruiting, NIL,
and retention.
portal.
I always thought the recruiting rankings were stupid anyway because you don't really know how good a guy is.
They're 17.
Now they're even more meaningless because
They are.
a lot of these kids, if they don't play, they're going to go somewhere else immediately. And
Right. But Ohio State, it's almost like they were prophetic in they went out and got a guy in Judkins who made a massive difference on their roster, scored 3 touchdowns in the championship game, and is going to the NFL.
Those two,
That's right.
Downs and him, made
Downs is the
a
defensive
complete,
version.
It was like, oh, y'all cheating now. Like, y'all was already good.
The portal rankings are worth way more than the recruiting rankings.
They have literal tape.
Before we wrap here, real quick, I pulled up a list. This is from the start of the 2024 season. NFL players from each state. If you can name the top 5, I'll give you $10
What do you mean
right
since
now.
Are you talking about high school talent?
No. For the 2024 NFL season.
Oh, I see.
Players
In the
In the
NFL.
NFL.
in the NFL
By
from
state.
each. If you can name the top 5, I will give you
Florida's
$10
in the top
right now.
5.
Correct.
California.
Ohio.
Correct.
Texas.
Ohio's not.
Ohio's not.
No. I can tell you their exact rank. in a sec.
California, Florida, Texas.
Those are the top 3.
New Jersey up there?
No.
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 Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania is
would be.
close. Pennsylvania has 106. Ohio has 104.
I'm gonna go with Georgia.
Nope. Georgia has,
Louisiana.
Louisiana has 102. Georgia has 89. Neither the correct answer.
South Carolina.
Incorrect. South Carolina has 83.
New York.
New York has 31.
Ooh.
No, New York's not a good football state.
New Jersey only
they're
has
not, but
20.
Just by volume of people.
Who am I? Who we forget? So I got one,
We
one,
want
two, and three.
California. Arizona?
Nope. One of these you should get. One of these I never would have gotten in a million years.
Michigan's not in there.
Michigan's 103, one below Ohio,
Okay.
where they belong.
Wow, that's surprising.
It is.
It's according to the Action Network, by the way.
Who are we forgetting?
One pretty obvious school in the South.
North Carolina.
Bingo, but that's not
Really?
the obvious one. That was the one I thought you never would have guessed.
Alabama.
And Bama, there it is.
Oh, I thought we had said Bama.
I didn't
No.
think Alabama was. I would have
Yeah.
picked. I would
I
have
just
picked.
think
I would have
then
picked South Carolina.
Alabama-
I would pick South Carolina or Alabama.
in order, Texas with 211.
Which I would expect.
California 151 at number 2, so 60 fewer than Texas.
I mean, you're talking about states that are massive.
No, I'm
We're
just
talking
giving you
electoral votes.
Florida
Yeah, that's what
has
we're talking.
Florida has 149. Then there's a drop off. North Carolina with 121. Bama with 109.
Those are the two surprising.
Yeah.
Because if you do it per capita, Alabama would be 1 and North Carolina would be 2.
Yeah, and then Pennsylvania is next, 106. Then Ohio.
So here's the thing: what we learned. You can't win a presidential election if you don't win those states. We know
you
that for a
can't-
fact.
and you can't
win football games if you don't
not
have
getting
players
from
from
those
those
states.
That's wild to me. Those are all the swing
I did a
states.
deep
Yeah,
dive
but
on this a
Texas,
couple years
California,
ago.
and Florida are not surprising. None of those.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Carolina is. North
Carolina and Alabama
North
shocked the hell out
Carolina,
of
I'm a
me.
little surprised.
I'm
Yeah,
shocked.
North Carolina especially. Alabama, it's a culture.
Yeah.
Alabama high school football is huge.
I would think
I
Georgia
think
and
North
Atlanta.
Carolina's population has really grown in
Charlotte's
recent years.
a
huge.
big emerging population
Yeah.
center. What's fascinating about all of these conversations is when you project talent, like obviously you think of Ohio and Texas because high school football is so big there. But also, I think it has something to do with, I wonder if it has something to do with guys that choose to play other sports and not football in those states. So they're, they're drawing pool.
There's not a high school football culture in New York. I can't.
No, I know there's not. I was shocked by that,
There is
but there
in
isn't.
upstate New York.
Yeah, but not New York City. They don't
But
even
in
care
New
about
York
it.
City, it's a basketball, baseball culture.
100%.
Not football.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
But yeah, you go up to Buffalo and I bet you most of the 35 New Yorkers
Came
that
from
from
Buffalo,
upstate New York.
yeah.
Buffalo,
Rochester,
Syracuse.
area.
Do New England states, I feel like they're in football. Like,
Bro, they don't.
in Boston, do they even?
No.
In the Northeast in New England, a lot of high school football games are played on Saturday afternoons,
Yeah.
I feel like they play
which is really
lacrosse.
bizarre to me. I remember
played
when I was in Connecticut, it's like, you guys playing
Jersey.
high school football?
Jersey was
Jersey
1
too.
o'clock kicks
That's like
on Saturday.
crazy.
It's because college, Rutgers.
There's
I mean,
some
I'll just
teams
speak
that play
Jersey,
one
but-
afternoon on Saturday here.
No, and there are some that play on Friday nights in New Jersey, but
Right.
it's uncommon to see a huge slate of games on a Saturday afternoon here.
Right.
It's also uncommon to see the majority of teams playing on Friday night in New Jersey.
I actually think
and-
I think it's changing. I
Maybe
think
it is.
I think
I
New
mean-
Jersey's going more to Friday night.
Well, Corey's high school was always Friday night, but there were like Don Bosco. A lot of the prep schools I think were Saturdays.
Okay, yeah, I
Yeah.
heard of them.
Is it because they didn't have lights?
I don't know. I mean, they played
Don
in big
Bosco's like
stadiums.
They just
Spire
don't-
Academy. That's an incredible school.
Bosco's
They have to have
amazing.
lights. Yeah.
Bosco
But-
has everything.
I mean, what the heck do you do in Maine? What did they do?
Dude, in like Wyoming, they play 7-on-7.
They ain't even got no kids.
So
Hey, let's
I
wrap
saw-
up.
a lot of these high schools don't have enough.
I saw a 7-on-7 game in Oklahoma. I have called a college football game. I did play-by-play of a college football game.
Let's
in
wrap
Maine.
with this.
7-on-7.
No, it was a college
Oh,
Division
oh.
III college game.
Oh, okay.
Can you name the state with the fewest NFL players in the
South
2020?
Dakota.
Close.
North Dakota.
Bingo. 1. There you go.
Those
the wrong
states
Dakota.
also have like one or two
Bismarck,
They
major
shouldn't even be
leaguers.
states. Let's face
Like
it.
in major league. I think when Rocco Baldelli was drafted by the Rays out of Rhode Island, I think he was like the third or fourth player to be drafted out of Rhode Island.
Wyoming and the Utahs should just be made one. Wyoming and the Dakotas,
Dakotas.
should just be made one
Boom.
state.
Hey,
Let's make them one
people
state. Let's
do
go.
not-
North U.S.
People do not know how sparsely populated the West is.
Oh man, you can go when you're flying over
Miles.
Wyoming and you look down there, you're like,
Miles.
they don't have any people that live there.
Like the whole,
It's
like,
just vast.
We'll see you tomorrow on
heaviness
UCSS.
of nothingness.
Go
It's
Cats.
crazy.
It's